we're going to carry on with our topic vectors, but we're looking at the examinable questions now. So part A asks you to write down the vector AB. Just like we saw previously, the direct route is the highlighted route there. However, we have no information, so actually we have to come up with a slightly different route. So in order to go from A to B, we can go from A to O, and then from O to B. We know using the diagram that A to O is this negative A. The reason it's a negative is because we're going against the arrow, so we change our sign. And then from O to B is just this vector B. Part B, it tells you that the point B divides AC in this ratio 2 to 3. So we are looking at this ratio 2 to 3, where AB is our first part and BC our second part. So you can clearly see, using this ratio, to go from A to B, to go from the numbers 2 to 3, we have timesed by 1.5. 2 times 1.5 gets you to 3. So now we can use that to help us work out our vector OC. So to work out our vector OC, again the most direct route would be going down here. However, we don't have any information about that. So what we are going to do is actually take this route here. We're going to go from O to B and then from B to C. So O to B plus B, C. We already know what the vector OB is. We know that that is this vector B. However, we don't know what BC is yet, but we can use that ratio to help us. So we know to go from AB, the length which we worked out in A, if we times that by 1.5, we would get the length BC. So we know that BC is equal to 1.5 times by AB. We worked this out in part A. That was equal to minus A plus B. If we now multiply out this bracket, we would have minus 1.5 lots of A and plus 1.5 lots of B. So we've just worked out what BC is. So now we're going to fill in back over here what BC is. So minus 1.5A plus 1.5B. All we've got to do now is just collect our vectors together. So we have got, and this may help, if you put the imaginary 1 there, we've got 1b plus 1.5b, which is a total of 2.5b. And then we have got this minus 1.5a. So question 2. Part A asks us to write the vector DC in terms of P. In order to do that, we need to have a look at this ratio here. So it tells us that DC to AB is this ratio 3 to 2. Again, we can have a look at our scale factor. So how do we change our length AB to our length DC? Well, to go from 2 to 3, you are timesing by 1.5. So that is the same thing that we have to do in order to go from our length AB to DC. So DC is equal to 1.5 times by our length AB, which we already know is this vector P. So our final answer is 1.5p, or you can write this as a fraction, 3 over 2p. Part B asks us to work out the vector BC. So, for this question, we need to find the route which goes from B to C. Just like you've seen previously, there is a direct route, however we don't have any information about that. So actually, what we need to do is go around. So we need to go from B to A to D, and then D to C. if I just fill in that information from part A, which was 3 over 2p, now we've got all the information we need. I'm just going to write that journey out in terms of vectors. So we're going to go from B to A to D, and then finally D to C. So B to A is negative P, because again we're going against the arrow, we're going the opposite way, plus AD, which is Q, plus 3 over 2p. So now again we've just got to collect our vectors together. Again, you might find it useful to write in the imaginary number 1, if that helps. So then our final answer, minus 1p plus 3 over 2p is 1/2p, or 0.5p, plus 1q. So question 3 asks us to explain the geometrical relationships between the straight lines AB and CD. However, it hasn't given you a diagram. So I'd always recommend drawing a diagram, especially with these vector questions. So we are going to start at our O point. It tells us that O to A is 2x plus 9y. So if we go across by 2x and up by 9y, doesn't have to be accurate, but that would lead us to our point A. So from O to A, we've gone across 2x, up 9y. If we follow that same pattern for OB, this time we're going to go across 4x. So that is an additional 2x. And we're going to go up to 8y. And that is our point B. So it wants us to work out the relationship between the straight lines AB and CD. So now we have enough information to work out what this line A to B is. So we have gone across, remembering we're going from A to B. So to work out my vector AB, we have gone across by 2x and we have gone down by 1y. So it's going to be 2x subtract 1y. Tells us that the line CD is equal to 4x minus 2y. So actually, if we have a look, we could take out a factor of 2 from our line CD. You will notice something happens then. You will notice that inside the bracket, the vector is identical to AB. So this information tells us that our lines are parallel because the vectors are the same. The number outside the bracket actually tells you how many times bigger it is. So we now know that CD is actually twice the size of AB because the 2 is on the outside of the brackets. So that means it is twice as big as AB. Our final question, question 4, again doesn't have a diagram. So the first step you will need is to draw this diagram. So again, starting at O, I'm going to go across by 11x and I'm going to go up by 6y. That is my vector A. Then we're going to go OB, so we're going to go across only by 4x this time. So across 4x. And we've gone up 10y. So then my vector OB will be this straight line here. So in order to work out what BA is, BA, we've gone from the point B to the point A. So in order to do that, we need to go across by 7x, the difference between 4x and 11x. So we've gone across by 7x. 11x, and we have moved down by 4y. So because we've moved down, it's negative, and we've gone from 10y to 6y. So we have moved down by 4y. So that is my vector BA. In order to work out my vector AC, we first of all need to plot C onto our diagram. So again, I'm just going to draw a separate diagram so it doesn't get too confusing. O to A, we've gone across by 11x and up by 6y to get that first point. And then we've got to look at this part CO. That tells us how we go from C backwards to O. However, we're starting at O. So actually, we need to reverse this. Like before, if you were reversing a vector, if you're going the opposite direction, you need to change the signs. So this would actually be positive 13x subtract 11y. That now tells us if we start at O, we would need to move across by 13, which is an extra 2x to what we'd already moved, and we're going to go down 11y. And that is our point C. Again, if we draw this as a straight line, going from O to C, that is our vector. So finally, to answer the question now, we need to work out how we go from our point A to our point C. So AC is equal to, well, we've gone across by an extra 2x because we've gone from 11x to 13x, and we have gone down by 17y.